Supposed to be the first hip hop jam. I got to see Kool Herc in 1974 at the Webster PAL, and he already was a legend. So it has to be so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I find this cognitive dissonance between the incredible urban poetry of hip hop and this name hip hop, which sounds like some, bunny rabbit.
Okay.
So how does the name hip hop come to describe this?
When we were doing it, it was basically it was called the jam. When you go to the next jam, we join the next party, the next get down, the next get together. It had no name, no token phrase. Another urban lore is that either DJ Hollywood or Lovebug Starsky or Keith Cowboy, right? Or Keith Cowboy from the Furious Five coined the term hip hop, and that became synonymous with culture. Africa Bambaataa took what we were doing, a neighborhood party at a local center, at the park, with the aesthetics of the break dancing, the aerosol, the grab, the DJing, and then later on the microphone, the MC, and coined it a culture around the same time, in 74. So it became much more than just a term. It became kind of a gathering of collectors. Right?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Jackson. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn. I came of age in the late 70s, early 80s. And I thought I knew culture. I thought I knew hip hop, but this is new to me. First of all, I never knew that it started in 73. So I guess my question is, from my understanding, from growing up in Brooklyn, I always thought that it was the Sugar Hill Gang.
Oh.
That's what I'm learning so much tonight.
Yeah.
Chronologically, they were so late now. I mean, you're talking 73, and they were, what, 80, 79?
For the reasons that Johan had touched upon earlier, it was a subculture. It was a subculture at its bare essence. We self-promoted ourselves, so I guess you could say we were the first entrepreneurship of the culture, because we took mixtapes that we recorded at our jams, at our routines, at our battles, and sold them in lunchrooms in high schools around the Bronx. And that was a form of self-promotion. We took the flyers that Johan showed you earlier, we created it ourselves. And Johan, you said we took it to a Xerox. That didn't exist. We took it to a printing shop, a mom and pop printing shop, which was hand printed. They were stenciled out, like you said earlier, all of that was correct. But we weren't as fortunate enough to have a Kinko's or pretty thick. That's why I think it has a long shelf, because of the actual printing of the flyers. Yeah, the preservation of the flyers is something that just came by chance.
You can actually tell when Xerox machines started showing up in high schools and corner shops, which is late 1978.
Right, yeah.
And only in some instances, and the ones that are Xeroxes are in much better shape, much worse shape. They fade, they disintegrate.
Exactly.
But the ones that were actually printed offset in like this myriads of mom and pop print shops,
Retrograph machines.
are quite stable.
So yeah, that whole movement, it went undetected. It was a word of mouth type of a thing.
So it wasn't a New York City thing. It was a Bronx thing.
It was a Bronx. It was in
Brooklyn came back. It must be 8 years.
in the early 70s when I was part of it. It was something that just went so undetected. Even from the things that we aren't talking about, like the clothing. The clothing was a big part of it. The clothing, the grab. It kind of set you apart from the norm. This is way before what you have now. You have companies that are gazillion-dollar companies from clothing, urban clothing. We created urban clothing. we took regular garments, kind of like shifted it, and twisted it around, and just made it unique to us. So we could stand out. It was like our regalia, you know what I mean? You know who a hip-hop proponent was by just the way he dressed, the way he wore his hat, the way he walked, the way he talked. It was kind of like something of ours. So it went almost like punk. It kind of went
better, right?
Yeah, you could. In the late 70s, you could see who a punk rocker was. So you could actually point around the crowd. He's doing that, you know what I mean? So that was us, you know. This is way before media and any of that. Sugar Hill was our exposure to the masses. It happened for a couple of different reasons. I won't get into it. There's a lot of political BS about it, but we're glad it happened. It kind of introduced what we were doing in the streets to a broader, wider fan base. So yeah.
And obviously that introduction became the mass market version. It was sort of, instead of playing Little Richard, it would be playing Pat Boone.
To your point, though, Brooklyn had hip-hop. It just wasn't as sophisticated as the Bronx.
Yeah. All right.
There was hip-hop in Brooklyn, but you guys would play like Love Is the Message for like 2 hours, right? And it was a different kind of let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, do it, do it. It was a different type of vibe, as opposed to there was techniques and mic passing, and it was more cutting edge. It was more, rat-tat-tat, and the culture was constantly evolving in the Bronx as opposed to a derivative occurring in Brooklyn. You guys had it.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something that Mexi Ray just said, too. And when Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang became a worldwide smash hit in 1979, hip-hop had existed for years and years and years, but it was a performance-based culture. And live recordings of hip-hop jams of the early era are unbelievably rare. And once you find them, which is not very often, the sound quality is usually like listening to something inside of a tin bucket. But quite recently, through the widow of Breakbeat Lenny, Mrs. Roberts, Cornell University has acquired 24 hours of live hip-hop from the early years with perfect sound quality, because Breakbeat Lenny would take his cassette deck to the live jams, plug it into the mixing board, and record the jams. And this was one of my many daydreams to ever find a cachet like this for years and years and years. And it has recently been found, and is something else that's going to be accessible on the website. Yes, go ahead.
There's always a circularity to popular art forms. In the case of hip-hop and rap, there's probably been more circularity than ever before, in the sense that the art form derives from the culture, and then the culture is very impacted upon by the art form. Without question, hip-hop and rap have had more impact upon youth culture in America, especially black males, than any other cultural form has ever had upon the audience from which it emerged and the audience which was its later target when it became commercial. As an academic, or as somebody who's involved in academia, are you doing anything in terms of setting up symposiums, forums, or whatever, that would both be dealing with the art form and its history and its impact on the youth culture? Are you doing any of that? Both the artistic and sort of the sociological.
Well, my short answer is that I'm not an academic, I'm a historian, so no, it's not for me, but I am hoping that once you pinpoint an archive of substance to a specific place, whether that's virtual online place or a physical space in a library, that will generate exactly the kind of things that you are asking for, that you're requesting.